The following TBT interview with Jack Knudsen by James Irvine and Matt Burns was pre-recorded. Due to the interview being recorded via the power of the internet, there were some technical issues that did occur. We do apologise. Also, audio discretion is advised with this interview. We hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have a special guest today on TBT Interviews. It is none other than Jack Knudsen. Alongside me is my colleague, Matt Burns, or Batmans.
You like to throw that one in, don't you?
Well, yeah, I've got to, mate. You know, you're just a bit of arse. Anyway, we are interviewing Jack Knudsen, not Batmans. I know Batmans likes to think he's a superstar, but he is not.
No.
So, how are you today, Jack? Any important news?
I'm all right, mate. I'm not too bad. It's good to see both your smiling faces.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't realise that we are actually on a video call, but we are doing this audio until lockdown is over. So, we have a couple of questions for Jack Knudsen. So, first question. I'm going to say, because we train together, who's your main inspiration to getting into wrestling?
So my main sort of inspiration for the whole start of my wrestling, originally, I started out, my granddad showed me like old World of Sport stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then must have been when I was about 6, 7, found Monday Night Raw, and that's where I found like your Jeff Hardys and your Rey Mysterio. So I'd say it's like depending on what sort of style I'm working with, my British stuff very inspired by Staint and Ken Nagasaki and the great Keith Myatt and people like that. And then obviously a more modern style, I'm inspired by like Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy. They were sort of who I loved as a kid. But now I'm very inspired by my friends as well, like seeing all my friends do well. We all sort of pick each other up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I see that myself because obviously we train together at the barracks, and I see that with you and Benjamin Harlan. You know, it's nice to watch. It's refreshing when you see both of you pick one another up, and you actually got a very good chemistry as well in the ring. I mean, I've seen you have a couple of matches, and they were really, really good. So, you know.
Cheers for that, mate. Yeah, I think working with your friends is always easier, and I think that's really why me and I'm gonna call him Con. That's why me and Con became such close friends, because there's a story that we've told before about me not really liking Con when I met him, but after we wrestled and just sort of, some people you just sort of get in there with and you really click, and he was definitely one of them. Same with Andy. It's just, I think that's sort of why we all got so close. Just being in there with people you can sort of like really go for it with, and you just click instantly. I think that's like probably the easiest way to build a friendship.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I mean, obviously, I've seen that firsthand. It's refreshing to see, because you don't really see that amount of closeness in wrestling anymore. It's more so everyone's for themselves. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you both, all three of you, back in the ring. Actually,
Yeah, I'd actually agree with that, because the weird thing about it is a lot of the time, a lot of people then think with the trio, it's only going to be around for a little bit, and then they branch off and do their own individuality thing, their own individual thing, and yet all three of you have managed to stick together like a little brotherhood, which is brilliant. It's actually quite refreshing, and that's just from my own spin on the British scene as well.
Yeah, I think that stems a little bit from, like you said, the sort of individuality. I think we all sort of are our own unique thing. So I think if we were all the same person, a trio would be pretty easy. But that's when you sort of see that conflict. But because we can all, you want us as a singles, we'll be a singles. You want us as a tag, we'll be a tag. You want us as a trio. And I think us just sort of trying to adapt with whatever we need to be doing for wherever we're working. I think that's what keeps us sort of so fresh and healthy as a team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for those of them, for everyone that listens to The Burning Truth doesn't know who Jack Knudsen is, obviously you need to know, and we'll go further into it, because you are part of the trio known as AWOL.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say you would like to face in the future as a trio? Say if you were to have a 6-man tag, who would you like to face in that 6-man tag?
Oh, a 6-man tag. That's pretty tricky. Just anyone in the world.
Anyone?
I think we'd probably have like Undisputed Era. It'd be pretty cool. It'd be, but I think in like, obviously for those who watched Takeover last night, Grizzled Young Vets. I've said this before on other platforms. They are the cleanest and the best at tag team wrestling. I think they are currently the most efficient and just perfect at tag team wrestling. Everything they do is so smart, and I'd love to be able to learn under them in that sort of sense.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do like Undisputed Era. But don't spoil NXT Takeover for me, because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, with the Grizzled Young Veterans, I actually know one of them myself personally, because I've actually done some training with him as well myself, which was actually in Liverpool, which was Zach Gibson, and the man has got experience levels just massively. He'd be actually, in all fairness, he'd actually be a good fit against you, personally.
Yeah, I think obviously it's an absolute dream, but yeah, I'd love to wrestle Gibson. He very much big Nigel McGuinness vibes from some of the stuff he does, but then he's so inventive with his own stuff. Like that Tombstone lung blower he does is crazy and just so slick every time it hits. And yeah, I think that'd be very fun to work with him.
Well, I've got a bit of a question for you now, which is with the whole fact of where you got getting into the wrestling business. How did you actually come across it to finding a way of getting into it?
So actually getting into wrestling was quite weird. So obviously I'd watched it all growing up, and like most people sort of grow out of it when they're 12, 13. Luckily, I never did, but I just sort of assumed, and I always wanted to wrestle and be a wrestler, but I just sort of thought when I'm 18, I'm just going to magic myself over to America because that's where it happens. And then through seeing like British shows and just getting more in, and at the time when I first started, like British wrestling's had a boom in the last 3 years. So when I first started out, it was much more quieter and there was very few shows. There was only like 2 or 3 big companies. Progress hadn't hit its peak or anything yet. Like we were still quite small, so finding a school wasn't maybe as easy as it was today. And maybe a reputable, is that the word? School, that's the one, isn't as easy to find. So I ended up going to one place that wasn't great, and I just wasn't taught very well, unfortunately, for the first 4 to 5 months of me training. And then some things happened where it wasn't easy for me to get to that school anymore. And but never really kept in touch with anyone from there, and I was gutted because I had to stop training. And I stopped for about a month, and then I was just DJing in Stoke somewhere, and clocked one of the guys that I used to train with. So I went up to him, said hello and everything, and he told me that Chris had just opened the barracks in Stoke, and the place where I was training previously was in Derby, so it was very far for me, especially as like 14, 15-year-old kid to get there. So once I found out about one in Stoke, that was it. Sort of just really went for it. Then found the barracks and then trained there ever since. And then following that, since then, I've had seminars in places and just sort of, and I'm hoping even more so when we're back, I can just try and get as many places as I can and learn as much as I can and just take in everything.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking here because because I've learnt my tech skills from you and Chris Ridgway, which I'm not being funny.
That is a good group to be in.
That is a good, solid group to be in. So, you know, if anybody wants to see good, classy tech mixed in with, what would you say your style was?
I tried to do a sort of quite a British technical style mixed in with a little bit of lucha libre, but I think needs must. I'll try and adapt to whatever place I'm in. If everyone on the card's doing flips, I'll go out and wrestle. If everyone on the card's wrestling, I'll go out and do flips. And I just sort of try and be an everyman if I can. And I prefer to be a master of none and try and do everything.
Yeah, we know somebody who's already upset with you because you can do a 450 better than him. He does it with such ease. It's ridiculous. It's like watching a piece of paper flip around in the air when you chuck it out the window.
You're too kind.
I'm sorry, but why, Irvine? Why? Why did you have to, reveal me secret?
Shut up! Joking. You jump off the top rope, mate, and you implode through the fucking ring. I
think Matt's 450 is great. When shows are back, everyone will be seeing his 450 that he's going to pull out all the time. So if you're lucky enough to watch a Matt Burns match, look out for the 450. And if he doesn't do it, you go to the promoter and ask for your money back for the ticket. This is a promise.
Whoa.
450s.
No.
Don't worry, because Batman's has got a replacement move. He's got the Colgate.
That'll do it.
The splash off the top rope, and no, I don't mean he's going to drop his fucking trousers and have a piss. I mean, like he's going to jump off like a normal splash and literally send you straight through the center of the fucking ring.
Anyway, we need to get back onto the focus of the interview. And so, the one thing I will say is, like we said on, we've said the fact that you've got your tech that is so crisp and brilliant. It is like you've got like an open book of knowledge. It's almost like you're reading it from page by page. It's, almost every second and every day. And it's actually refreshing to see it still being kept, being pushed and being used, that style.
Oh, well, thank you. It genuinely does mean a lot. I have put a lot of time into technical wrestling because I love it. Like, if I'm stuck for something to watch, I will watch Johnny Saint for the rest of the night. Like, I think British wrestling and rounds wrestling can be such an art, but like I don't think I do anything special with it. If you're looking for guys who are really amazing at like the technical wrestling, obviously look at Pete Dunne and Tyler Bates, but Jordan Breaks is amazing for that sort of style, and I think he's going to be the next guy to bring that sort of wrestling to the forefront.
That's a fair comment. Well, I remember a certain story that you told me, Jack.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a young boy, your mum is more than likely to walk in on you having a wank. But Jackie boy, that's not the story for you though, is it, mate?
What is the story? I'm not quite following.
Oh yes, you are.
I am not following.
Your mum has walked in on you practicing tech on your own.
Maybe. Maybe that happened when I was little.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to step in and defend. I'm gonna have to defend Jack on this because there's nothing wrong with that.
Toss it off all the time.
There's nothing wrong with practicing tech.
I think
it shows he's
that is more embarrassing, though. I think being walked in on, being in an imaginary cravat, is more embarrassing and harder to explain. Because at least if you're doing that other thing, they walk in, they can see what's happening. If I am in a cravat trying to do the 3 on the inside Johnny Saint reversal, what do they think is going on?
You got an imaginary friend.
Answers on a postcard.
Brilliant.
Oh no! Every time he says that, it just cracks me up. It really does.
Yeah, I'm terrible for it. I'm still constantly walking around my house, kicking door frames and putting animal objects in wrist locks.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's lockdown, isn't it? I've got literally nothing else to do.
Well, I was just about to say, that leads me to another question: is with lockdown and everything, how have you been occupying yourself?
I'll be honest. For the first bit, I really didn't, and without like killing the mood, first lockdown really got me down because it obviously felt like you were sort of losing everything, and then there was that slight glimmer of hope when we were back. And I think the second lockdown was almost worse for me because I got everything back and I was allowed to train again, and it looked like I was gonna get shows back, and then it felt like the rug got pulled again. So every time we get put back into these lockdowns, the first month is maybe me just moping around and just being sad. But then following that, I've just been here planning on what I want to do when I get back, designing gear, thinking of promos, thinking of moves I want to do, and just sort of what I imagine most wrestlers are doing whilst stuck in lockdown. It feels like we've sort of got all the time in the world. I've tried to use this as well quite positively to put on a bit of size, because obviously if I'm not wrestling 5 times a week, it's very hard to put on size when you're wrestling all weekend and then you're training 2-3 times a week. You're burning so many calories that sort of putting the weight on is a bit of a nightmare. But luckily I've put on a bit during this lockdown, and hopefully I can keep going with that and just try and get bigger for when we're back.
Well, because I can see you, obviously, I just want to reach out and pinch your cheek and give your face a bit of a shake, you know what I mean? Oh,
I'm just adorable, that's why.
Yeah, he's just so cute. So, explain to me the character of Jack Knudsen. How did you come up with the character?
So I get an awful lot of grief about the Jack Knudsen character, because obviously there is similarities to other people, but I genuinely, and I know how many people won't believe this, but I watched I'm not sure if you've ever seen Finn Balor's documentary when he was Fergal Devitt.
Yeah.
It's called Hit 'Em Up or something like that, but it's great. It's just documenting his last match in New Japan before he went to NXT. Just a great documentary. I'd highly recommend it. I think it's on YouTube. And Luke Gallows is just stood at the side of the ring, and he's like, during the time that I saw this was just as I was about to debut, and I was stressing about what sort of characters I wanted, and I went through the classic, like, just terrible backyard wrestling characters of all these terrible ideas. I was going to be like a Two-Face gimmick, and I won't get into them because they were terrible. But I listened to Luke Gallows on Finn Balor's documentary say the best characters you turned up to 11, which is obviously like a cliche in wrestling, but I'd never heard that before. And he said, turn yourself up to 11. What music do you like? What clothes do you wear? And then that sort of instantly hit me as like, I listened to sort of Oasis and Cortinas and DMAs and just that sort of more modern indie music. I wear Pretty Green, I wear Stone Out, all that sort of stuff, do you know what I mean? So I thought, if I can just be me and sort of turn it up, then that's what I'll do as a character. And then somewhere down the line, I decided I should bring a tambourine with me as well. I'm still not 100% on how that came about.
Yeah, that was going to be potentially a question I was going to throw in at some point, because I will say, I think you're one of the only ones that I've come across that's got a tambourine.
Yeah, I was actually going to... I mean, we've seen people use props before, but I've never seen a tambourine before. It's original idea.
Yeah, I love her. She's called Sally, my tambourine, and she's great. Loads of my friends have signed her after matches, and yeah, like you said, a lot of people, like Jim Cornette had the tennis racket. I've got a tambourine. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You know, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
That it does, and it's just refreshing to see something new.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, it's not like what I pitched to Batman's not long ago, where I'd love to walk down with a porno bag in my hand.
Just for a laugh, or is there a?
No comment.
Well, I don't know. I'm just one of them people, aren't I?
Yes, you are actually.
No comment. No comment.
I don't know why I even questioned it.
No, I don't know either.
As soon as it was mentioned to me, I was like, "Excuse me."
You can't
What?
see because we're on a podcast, but he's actually holding one now, which is crazy.
Which is a bit worrying, isn't it?
He's just flicking through whilst he's talking to us.
Well, if you hear a pages turning or rustling, you know what's going down.
No.
Wow.
Sweet Jesus!
That's been brought up.
Don't be breaking rules. Don't be breaking rules.
What rules? What rules are these?
Interview, come on. We don't want to be getting turned off the air or anything.
Well, it's funny because we're not live.
Even though we're not live, we do want to be able to get this out to the public.
Look, I always say it's best to keep an interview fresh. I'm keeping it fresh with my witty, moronic humour.
That's what you call it.
Anyway, back to the interview. So, does Jack Knudsen have a girlfriend?
I don't think the not to kill kayfabe, but I don't think the geezer Jack Knudsen, the weekend offender, has a girlfriend.
There you go, one for the ladies.
He's single.
Man. He's single and ready to mingle. You're like the Pied Piper, but with your tambourine.
Mate, you have no idea how much trouble that question's going to get me in. You have no idea.
But anyway, here's a question for you: is if you're on you as an individual instead of like what was earlier mentioned, like the 6-man tag, if you can have any match, who would you prefer to have a one-on-one match with? Be it either be anyone in the world or anyone on the British scene.
Singles match, anyone in the world. That is a big question. I mean, from any time period, it'd have to be Saint or Dynamite Kid. From any time period, hands down. British scene, there's so many amazing guys. I'm absolutely spoilt for choice. I'd love to wrestle Cara Noir. That'd be amazing. I think he has a completely different look on wrestling than anyone else, and that's sort of what I enjoy the most in wrestling. Just a different angle and a different frame of mind on it, because so many people, again, I won't completely go into the inner workings, but if I say 5 steps, so many people do the same thing day in, day out, and Cara Noir doesn't do that, and the Grizzled Young Vets don't do that, and these people that I think are amazing are the ones that sort of change that mold a little bit.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you were possibly more aiming for the 5 moves of doom, weren't you, hinting there?
I mean, it wasn't a dig at Cena. I'd give everything to wrestle Cena, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd give everything not to wrestle Cena.
Why, man? Cena's amazing. Cena's the GOAT.
It's a goat.
In case if everybody wants to know what that means, for the certain people, greatest of all time.
That's for James because he's old.
Dude.
We should have seen him trying to use Skype. I think as like a bonus, we should release you trying to work Skype.
Oh, that's it. Now, because I got you in trouble. Just because I got you in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm calling you old.
Now, let's just get back into so. The one thing with wrestling, what are your current thoughts on the British wrestling scene? Even though yes, we are currently in lockdown, how do you think the wrestling scene is going to be, possibly in a few years' time when we are able to get fully back into the groove of things? Can you see it getting even bigger or anything else?
Yeah, I think British wrestling is hotter than it's ever been right now, and I think it's only getting hotter. There's such amazing people coming through. And I think even in this very advanced time where we're not WWE, we can't all run shows, there's still amazing things happening in British wrestling, and we're all sort of keeping it alive. And I don't think you can kill British wrestling again. Obviously, after World of Sport was taken off the TV, like the original World of Sport was taken off the TV, there was a big lull for a very long time. But I think British wrestling is back stronger than it ever, and it's just going from pace to pace, and we're seeing amazing companies pop up all the time and doing amazing things with this new, fresh talent. And yeah, I don't think British wrestling is going anywhere. I think it's only getting bigger. Like I said about WWE, they made an NXT UK for a reason.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, both of us have already said, haven't we, Matt, that we reckon it's going to blow up even bigger than what it is right now. Because, like you say, there's loads of really young, decent talent out there at the minute in the UK.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Europe as well, because obviously we've got some Europeans that wrestle in the UK. So it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's another thing. Like, people come here to wrestle because we have the hottest scene right now, I'd argue. And like you said about lockdown, even in lockdown, you still got people like Crowley. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but that the thing he did where it was like the fight in the bar, I can't quite remember the name of it, was amazing. And just the fact that we're still doing things like that, and then like there's the natural progression going out in a few days, all this stuff that's still happening in the face of what's going on, just shows you that like this isn't going to be what puts British wrestling back in those dark days, because we're far past that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Especially now that you've got like NXT UK, you know, obviously they've not carried on or continued on like NXT US or Raw or SmackDown. You know, they couldn't carry on NXT UK because our laws were stricter.
Yeah.
But now that they've been given so many guidelines that they can follow to keep going. It's actually good for UK wrestling.
Yeah. I think that's spot on. Like, I think some people have sort of got this opinion about NXT UK, but I think the more eyes on British wrestling, why isn't that a good thing? I don't think there's any downside to any wrestling, really. I mean, obviously there's good wrestling and there's bad wrestling, but the more eyes that you can get on British wrestling, the better, because this is the best scene in the world.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yeah, I would. Definitely. I mean, obviously, you've wrestled, you've wrestled at PCW, which is quite a big wrestling company.
Yeah.
Okay. You've also wrestled abroad as well.
Yeah. Done Germany and Spain as well. That was
Germany
cool.
and Spain, and obviously, you know, you've got ties over there as well now. Can you see yourself going back to Europe anytime?
Yeah, there's a few sort of there's a bit of back and forth between going back to Germany. I'll be honest, I'm so desperate to wrestle. Once the first place I can go and wrestle, I'm going to go and wrestle. So hypothetically, Germany are back before England. I know that Germany is actually they've currently gone back into another lockdown, a lot like us, I think. But like, if Germany was back before England and I could find a way to Germany, I'd be there. I really miss it, but hopefully as soon as everything's back to normal, Germany's back on the cards, and then who knows where we'll go to next.
Well, I know that you've got aspirations to try and go and wrestle in America.
Yeah, I'd love to be all over the world, mate. It's the indie wrestler dream, isn't it? To get to see the world and wrestle. I mean, what more could you ask for? And getting to see bits of the world with your closest mates, and then go and do the thing that you love to do. It's the greatest thing in the world. Like, I've told loads of people, and I'd happily say it, the time I spent in Germany and Spain with the lads is easily the best time of my life.
Yeah.
And that can actually lead into a nice little segue for the next question, which will be any interesting, delightful stories that you've got?
Yeah.
What delightful stories do you want? I'm not sure how many of them.
No.
Could share on our podcast.
I will say ones that you can legally share.
We don't do anything that bad. I mean,
I'm joking.
Off the road stories, we're not.
That's what I'm
we're
saying.
not the craziest bunch. I mean, my two tag partners are straight edge. I mean, we just sort of make the town. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. We've done some little things like we're constantly annoying each other, but we do it out of love. Like the barracks, we had a four-way that led to the first heavyweight champion being crowned. And this was before AWOL was filmed, so it was me and the lads. And so, end of the match, we'd put a lot of work into this match. Big four-way. It meant a lot to us all. Andy won the heavyweight championship. Big moment, sort of like, no matter where the barracks goes, that will go down in history. First champion. And we get backstage, all the hugs and kisses of a post-match. And so then Andy goes somewhere, and me and Con decide to hide his newly crowned heavyweight championship from him. And he comes back from the toilet or wherever he'd been, and me and Connor stood there going, "Bro, you're going to be in so much trouble. You've just won the bout, and now you can't find it. How disrespectful, misplacing the bout. Second, and we're proper winding him up." And so there's more stuff like that than like crazy stuff that we do on the road. We have a lot of fun backstage. I think
if I'm not mistaken with what you just mentioned, so basically you did the whole belt going missing before Chris Jericho did on Andy.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I think like if you've seen us backstage, I think a lot of people, it's not the best opinion, but I think a lot of people take wrestling very seriously and they don't take it for what it is, which is just very fun. So we just try and have a bit of a laugh. Like,
yeah,
if you treat it dead seriously, you're not going to be having as much fun. And obviously, you do have to be serious. We've got each other's lives in our hands. There's a time to be serious, but I mean, you're backstage. You're surrounded by like-minded people. You're all there for an end goal of entertaining people. Why not have a laugh along the way?
Yeah. Well, like-minded people until people like me walk in the back.
Yeah, and then it's like-minded people in you and your magazines.
I saw where that was going.
I bet you did.
Well, one thing I'm going to just point out now, in regards to it, is where would you like to see yourself in a few years' time, though? Could you get your aspirations?
I think me and the boys talk about this a lot, and I don't know if it comes across sort of big-headed to say, and I don't mean it in this sense, but I want to do everything. I want the world and everything in it. Like, I don't see the point in doing this and not striving to be the best. And I'm not the best. I'm nowhere near it. That is what I'm aiming for. I want to be everywhere. I want to do everything. I'd love to do like the Indie Wrestler Dream Tour. I want to see Japan. I want to see Mexico. I want to see America.
Yeah, no, we get that. Would you contemplate wrestling in Mexico?
I'd love to wrestle in Mexico. I think Lucha Libre is such a, like I was saying earlier about like the sort of different view on wrestling and people thinking about it differently. I think Mexico's great for the way they see wrestling and the way it's treated.
Yeah. Well, can't argue with that, mate. Can't argue with that. So, with AWOL, and I'm really going to put you on the spot now, who's the most annoying?
Who is the most annoying? See, they'd both say me, which is the problem. But it's just because I'm sort of the baby. Like, I just need constantly looking after. They're both older than me, so I just sort of, like, I've said it a million times, Con's my road wife. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know where I was going. I wouldn't know how I was getting there. I'd forget to eat if it wasn't for Con. Like, he sorts everything. He's the best. But, annoying, like, Andy's vegan, so I mean...
Oh, yeah.
I say more. He's just hard to go out with and eat with. Con's not annoying. I can't even sit here and pretend he is, because he's just not.
I've seen you two wind each other up to the stage where you've...
we'll wind each other up. People think that me and Con are going to come to blows all the time, but it's just because, especially whilst we're planning...
Yeah. I remember
we're into it and we both care so much that if we have a slight difference in opinions to other people, like if you're watching us talk, it looks like we hate each other, but we're just having a really, really friendly discussion about what we should do.
a friendly discussion that's about to bust into forearm smashes.
Yeah, they could end up in a fight.
Well, I do remember a certain argument over how a wrist lock is performed.
Oh, okay. And if you remember this, who was right?
Yeah, you were right because you were showing me.
So it was wrist lock drag over. So the sort of top wrist lock into an arm drag, and then spin under to keep the wrist lock on back to like a normal wrist lock, opposed to the top.
Yeah.
It was just after the arm drag, which way you best to roll. Obviously, rolling to your left would lead you into it cleanly, and rolling to your right wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I can't argue with context. Amazing. One of my favorite things to do, and I guarantee the first thing I do after lockdown is me and Tom will go to the unit. We probably won't even talk to each other. We will just stay for a good hour.
Yeah, that sounds all good.
It sounds like a plan. Are you sure you're going to come out in one piece?
We're nice to each other. We're brothers. Of course we're nice to each other.
That argument I remember though over the wrist lock, it was quite amusing because I was like, am I in the middle of the biggest drama in the barracks at the minute?
Yeah, we are children to get our point across.
Yeah. But when you were proved that you were right, it was a smug right.
The problem with being, like, we can't agree to disagree. One of us is right, one of us is wrong. There's no other way. And like, I've been wrong many a time, and he still mugs me off about it. But when I'm right, I mug him off about it. So it's just like being brothers. Like me and the Ancon are all just brothers who annoy each other all the time. We only annoy each other because one, we spend so much time together. You're in a car all weekend, just giving each other shit. Sometimes you're gonna wind each other up.
I think that's about time for this interview. I'd say about. It's about time call a bit of a wrap up for it. So at this moment of time, with yourself, where can people find you? Where can people find you?
Right now, don't come and find me 'cause I'm at my house. But online, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JackKnudsen01. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Jack Knudsen Wrestler. If you want to email me, I don't know why you would. If you want to book me, you're probably best in my DMs. But if you want to book me, you can email me, and that's jackknudsen01@gmail.com.
Did you notice that Matt Burns was giving you a thumbs up then? Have you not noticed you've been kissing your arse all the way through this interview?
You wish.
No, you wish.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, one thing I will say is I've noticed that you might have missed off. Don't you also have something else to possibly offer to the fans? Potentially some interesting, merch.
Oh, okay. I currently don't have any merch out, but you can keep an eye on Jack Knudsen Big Cartel. I have got some ideas in the works. Seems as we're in lockdown, so I might drop a shirt. Me and the AWOL boys tend to try and do it for some sort of good cause. There's currently still an AWOL shirt up. Fancy getting that? It doesn't go to me and the boys. It goes to charity. It goes to a plasma charity. So yeah, if you're interested in getting one, you'll be able to find it linked in my Twitter, Benjamin Horn's Twitter, and Andre's Twitter.
So basically, what he's trying to say is, buy my merch.
Buy my merch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fucking merch.
That's about right. So, genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the TBT interviews.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Genuinely, it's I believe this has been your first one, isn't it, Mr. Irvine?
Yeah, my first interview of interviewing Monsieur Knudsen. He's giving me the peace sign right now.
It's all down here, mate. It's all downhill.
Yeah, it's all downhill. That's it now. I've ruined your career and your love life.
Exactly. Yeah, you are.
And
I'm going to be in so much trouble.
I do apologise not.
We'll have words after this.
So with that all being said, I'm just going to say it's been emotional from yourself.
It's been emotional from myself.
It's been emotional from me. Is that the line?
Yay!
Okay, cool.
There we go. So with that, thank you very much for listening to TBT Interviews, and we'll hopefully catch you at the next interview, or be it on the next broadcast episode, which is always on every Sunday. Until then, catch you later.
Bye bye.